I made my most recent video on players who gained the most respect after the 2020 playoffs. Of course, the best players from the 2020 NBA champions, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, two of a kind, earn all the praise in the world. Many players from the Miami Heat earn plenty of props as well for their performance, having one of the most unexpected runs anyone can imagine. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Today, we'll dig into 10 players who ruined their reputation for their lackluster performance during the 2020 playoffs. Some of these guys were once considered underrated, but now very overrated and disrespected by many. I made a couple of videos roasting the pathetic Los Angeles Clippers. Their meltdown of the 2020 playoffs should just be highly as remembered. If they don't win a title within the next 3 years, the 3-1 meltdown will forever haunt them. I thought about taking a break from criticizing WAP and his pathetic play all postseason. The pressure too much for him, not a winner. His Clippers absolutely deserve to get roasted again and again. The definition of embarrassment. If LAC don't get it together by next season, that trade with OKC will go down as one of the worst all time. Paul George, an absolute disgrace of a travesty. Doesn't have the motor, no toughness, no grit, melts down under pressure. The amount of break threes, too many to count, makes terrible decisions with the ball, struggles to finish strong, continues to avoid contact, still unsure of himself. It should have been a warning when he flirted with the idea wanting to go to the Lakers 3 years back and play for his hometown team when he was still in Indiana after becoming a free agent in 2018. George didn't even give the Lakers a chance to speak to him. Resigned with OKC on a 4-year deal only to get traded a year later after talking smack to Damian Lillard before the playoffs. All that pressure already mounting. We all knew he didn't have the clutch gene and collapsed many times in previous playoffs, but not this poorly. If he was to lose, we expected him to not show up against the Lakers, but couldn't even get past the Nuggets. After playing with Russell Westbrook and Kawhi Leonard, WAP only won one playoff series after demanding out of Indy, destroyed by Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Dame Lillard, and now Jamal Murray. Averaged just 18.5 points against Dallas, a team he should have beaten in 5 instead of 6. Couldn't hit a big shot. 10 freaking points in Game 7. Couldn't even tell the difference between the rim and the backboard on some of those ugly shots. An absolute failure of a performance. Doesn't matter if he averages 25 next regular season and makes an All-NBA team. What matters is his ability or inability to win in the postseason, from leaving one star to joining another. Other role players like Tyler Hero, Rajon Rondo performed better in the 2020 playoffs. Montrezl Harrell also lost a lot of respect. Will lose plenty of money this free agency depending where he goes. Plays with force and energy all throughout the regular season as the 6-man winner. Performed like the 60th man these playoffs. Doesn't seem like he knew the definition of defense. Most remember for calling Luka an unpleasant name. Doncic gave him a taste of his own medicine by dropping 44 and a game winner. Harrell just 2 points that game. Couldn't effectively play the 5. Got absolutely destroyed, abused, annihilated, and humiliated from one white boy to another. Nikola Jokic looked like prime Shaq. Harrell played like a third-string center. Averaged just 10.5 points, under 3 rebounds as a center. Pathetic. Another guy who will continue to put up numbers in the regular season, but if he can't guard anybody in the playoffs, will be a huge liability. Patrick overrated Beverley. Played like he was sleeping heavily. All bark, no bite. Took a nap during games. Got clapped by Jamal Murray. Back to the bench in a hurry. Act like a buffoon. Woke up in the afternoon only to end up in Cancun. Missed the negative 94 feet. Spent more than half his time taking a seat. Not very elite. Averaged just 6 points. Made no impact whatsoever. Against the Nuggets, picked up cheap silly fouls. Can't facilitate effectively. Does all that fist pumping and barking when he never even played in a conference finals game. Houston made it without him in 2015. Playoff Rondo proved he was way better. Beverley will now be considered a below average starting point guard. Realistically, the Clippers need a true point guard who can produce and make plays more than just talking. Highly disappointing. Lou Williams wasn't himself all bubble. Perhaps the NBA delaying its season hurt Lou Will the most. Looked out of sync. Maybe age is finally catching up to him. Couldn't guard anybody. A huge liability when not making shots. Was supposed to be one of the closers down the stretch, but too many bricks. Shot under 24% from 3. Won a pathetic 2 of 10 in Game 5 versus the Nuggets. 0 of 5 from downtown. If he hit one of those threes, his Clippers would have went to the conference finals, but it wasn't meant to be. The entire Clipper franchise an absolute joke. Eric overrated Bledsoe, continues to underperform in the big stage, got roasted by the superior Goran Dragic. The Bucks still in deep pain, deciding to let Malcolm Brogdon walk to keep an underachiever. Bledsoe melts under pressure as badly as PG, average under 12 points, under 39% shooting, 9 games this postseason, shameful, not elite enough to play 30 plus minutes for a contender, 2 of 12 in game 5 versus Miami. We all thought going 2 of 9 in game 3 was bad. 2 years ago, got roasted by Terry Rozier. Last season, when MIA in the conference finals, it's not a secret the Bucks want to get rid of him, knowing he's not good enough to help Giannis get over the hump. Danny Green stood strong after ignoring all the haters, for all the people sending him and his family dress, absolutely shameful, classless cowards. If you're one of those people, take a look at yourself in the mirror and think about what you're doing with your life. Absolutely pathetic. Nonetheless, Green hasn't lived up to his performance, drained most of his jumpers in the 2013 finals when he was really good. Pretty cold ever since, paid $15 million next season, shot under 35% for these playoffs. Very poor for a starting 2 guard, 1 of 14 in the finals in games 2 and 3 combined. Green also struggled for most of the 2019 playoffs with the Raptors at the declining stages of his career. The haters hate passionately, but if they focus as much energy trying to be successful at what they do, they'll be much happier with their lives instead of worrying about others. Kyle Kuzma, Laker fans will continue to boo him, most want him out, wasn't really a reliable third option, inconsistent, not a good spot-up shooter, a guy who needs the ball in his hands to create and put up numbers. Off the bench, averaged just 10 points, 23 minutes, didn't even have a single 20-point game in the playoffs. Playing way behind James and Davis, his production dipped significantly, still very bad on defense, falls for pump fakes, gets bullied, a year left on his contract, $3.5 million for 2021. People treat him like he should be a superstar. There's a reason he was only the 27th pick in the draft, became one of the main options on a poor team, always had his flaws, likely will be given a big deal when he becomes a free agent and play a bigger role on a weaker team. Pascal Siakam, so much for being in the superstar conversation. Jason Tatum proved who was the better player, absolutely awful against Boston, couldn't get anything going, looked lost and confused. His team would have likely been better off if he wasn't on the floor in crunch time. After making a leap since Kawhi's departure, Siakam melted under pressure, average under 15 points, 7.5 rebounds, 38% shooting in the semis, 41 minutes played. The 26-year-old didn't have what it took, simply not his former self, doesn't appear to be a good enough first option on a contending caliber team, played excellent as a second option when most of the attention wasn't on him. Russell Westbrook had an untimely injury. Houston will forever look back at the mistake of not having CP3 and Harden work out, went super small only to get slapped around by the superior Lakers, proven year after year, couldn't get past the first round after Kevin Durant bounced, barely got past the first round this postseason, continues to be a terrible outside shooter, too many costly turnovers, almost blew the OKC series. His play style don't complement Harden's game the way CP did. 3 years, $132 million left on his contract, much respect for his $8,000 tip, very genuine, amazing gesture, but Rocket fans won't be too happy if he continues to miss open shots. Tobias Harris went from low-key good to underpaid to extremely highly pathetically overpaid. The Sixers should be ashamed of themselves in losing Jimmy Butler and not trying harder convincing him to stay. Instead, gave Harris a 5-year, $180 million contract. Absolutely ludicrous. Playing the way he did against Boston, he's not even worth 5 years, $80 million. Nobody wants that contract. Average under 16 points, 38% shooting, 2 of 15 from 3, not to mention not making any the first 3 games. Doesn't have what it takes on a good team. At least he's reunited with Doc Rivers again, whom he played his best basketball under in 2018. They can now lose in the second round together if the team's still stuck without Horford's contract, an aging big who's already on the decline anyway. His struggles weren't that much of a surprise. Honorable mentions include Giannis, who will likely win more MVPs and dominate like crazy every regular season, but being a liability from the outside late in big playoff games still makes many wonder if he has what it takes. While Victor Oladipo wants to get out of Indy, hasn't looked good since after the 2018 season, his ceiling already seemed to peak. Kemba Walker somewhat disappointing as well. Head coaches include Doc Rivers and Mike Budenholzer, 2 overrated coaches who chokes in many playoffs. Coach Bud should have been fired, while Rivers blowing 3-3-1 series leads for his career as head coach. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for watching this video. More good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.